A functioning public square is an incubator of civic activity, a place where we gather and mix and create communities. Park Central Square in Springfield, Missouri served this purpose for much of the 19th and 20th centuries. It was the center of civic life and commerce. Largely in response to suburban sprawl, drawing businesses and the middle class away from downtown, Springfield had landscape architect Lawrence Halpern design the square to be a pedestrian plaza in the early 1970s. Park Central Square is listed on the National Register of Historic Places as the work of an important designer. The original design, with its sunken central plaza, encouraged its use for concerts and festivals rather than as a gathering place for individuals and small groups. The recent redesign by the local architecture firm of Butler, Rosenberry and Partners attempted to make the space more attractive as a gathering place while remaining true to Halpern's vision, but the urban-suburban separation is still evident.
Until the late 60s, when Springfield, like in most other cities, experienced this flight out to the suburbs. And the remaining downtown folk saw this coming and said, you know, we need to do something major downtown. And that major thing they decided was this redesign of the square, as well as the streets that radiated out from it. And the model in the 1960s was essentially to compete with the suburban shopping districts. You can't fight the suburbs on the suburbs' terms. Downtown is unique, and downtown has its own DNA. The success of the square as a place really doesn't depend on the square itself. It depends on the perimeter. Everything needs to be lively.
I think another piece that you didn't really touch on is this perception of the vagrants, the square vagrants. And this kind of goes back to your mention of people being uncomfortable with people that are different than them.
Right.
You know, so there's one corner of the square that typically has a lot of loiterers who might look unsavory. And you know, I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic too, because you know, you talk about, you know, wanting to accept all kinds of people here, and but then there is this group that people do feel might not be the right kind of people we want downtown. And I know that there's a new police substation going down there. Usually you see a police car parked on the square, which is not very inviting. I think there's probably a better solution than that.
We come to a key person, the undesirable. It is for fear of him that spikes are put on ledges and benches made too short to sleep on. In actual fact, these people are harmless and sometimes very well behaved.
We can design urban places to attract people, but that doesn't guarantee interaction or community building. That takes people willing to meet across uncomfortable boundaries in those attractive urban places. Beyond design, how do we develop the trust among diverse people necessary to make an urban place work?
In many ways, the odd people do a service for the rest of us. They reassure us of our own normality. In well-used public places, people are tolerant of the odd ones, and life goes on with little fuss or trouble.
Wrestle with adventure, just try and stay alive past anywhere I've ever been before. Because I know
you know, if you have the spirit, that's what counts. It doesn't matter how it comes out, because sometimes people might say, you suck, or you're out of tune, but it's the intention. Intention really does count.
And plenty of light and love. Plenty of light, yes, plenty of light, plenty of light and love.
Blind Dave sees all.
fun. I'm a performer. I mean, that's definitely true. Like, whether it's, you know, running my open mic or being in my band or being on stage at Soft Tales, like, I'm a performer. It's what I love the most. It's where I feel most comfortable. We like to go downtown on the square and we perform, but really it's just like a practice for us, you know. But a lot of people, like, they like that. They'll, like, clap when we're done and stuff, which is cool, because we're just having, like, band practice, and people are like, yay, that was good. So that's fun.
So we moved from downtown and sort of that inner neighborhood area at West Central to out here to this apartment complex. Partly for financial reasons, to save money. It's quite a bit less expensive.
I have a really low rent here. It's like $100 a month because I just rent this teeny room. I mean, it's Springfield. The rent's not very high. And then, like, as far as other bills go, utilities usually aren't too bad. And then for most of our groceries, we go dumpster dive because grocery stores around town throw out a ridiculous amount of food that's perfectly good. So I don't have very many bills. I don't have insurance, don't have a car, I don't have anything like that. And I don't know, I don't really run into anybody else who like looks down on me or anything for what I do. I have had a few people that look down on me a little bit for the fact that I dumpster dive, but I look down on everybody that throws all their shit away, so it doesn't really matter in my opinion, like, what you want to say about that. When the college kids move out in this town, we found a freaking working iPhone at a dumpster. Like, are you kidding me? You want to look down on me for finding an iPhone? Like, are you serious? How about you think about what you put in your trash can? The fact that somebody else could really use that food, or somebody else could really use that pair of shoes that you think is no good anymore because there's a stain on them.
You know, you look at something like the square right there in the center, and I think squares are supposed to, in a way, be spaces to allow people to congregate, but we don't go hang out in the square.
Rarely.
No.
I mean, we'll grab a donut and a coffee from time
We
to time.
have grabbed a
but,
donut
you know, I
and
mean,
eaten it there.
the public space is underutilized.
Someone like Juniper, she would be in the same city, in the same space, but I don't know how our community path would intersect unless we very purposely did that.
Yeah.
Or she very purposely did that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I've figured out how to make it with very little money. I've figured out how to make it with the little bit of time that I have to go to work, and it works for me. And I don't know, I think that with all the other things that I do, someone could see that I'm somewhat of a decent person, that I work hard, that I'm dedicated, and it's, you know, everybody's got something that they do that's not in line with society's expectations, I think. So those are my things, I guess.
You can look at communities in a very descriptive way or in a very prescriptive way, right? I mean, in terms of like prescriptive, what my students read in their planning text ways, where it's like, you know, communities should have this amount of green space and this amount of interaction and mixed socioeconomically and diversity and community gardens and those are all great things, but that's not how everyday most communities in America function, right? People are out there kind of having their own small sub-communities and they're functioning as communities and in a larger whole when you aggregate those out. They're still communities, right? But they're not the type of communities we think about, we talk about. They're not those idealized, sort of ideologically progressive, forward-moving, prescriptive communities. And so I think that's somewhere that gets lost in between, right? And it's places where it's not about consuming, about paying. I mean, those are the public spaces where people can interact, but you're right, it still needs that social mediation. It needs people wanting to interact and facilitating opportunities for interaction.
From a political standpoint, but also from a personal and a psychological standpoint, we gain much more from face-to-face contact than we can ever gain from online interactions. We conducted another experiment that was kind of driven or inspired by some of the research we're seeing in lab settings around social trust. What we did is, at a public event, we pulled people aside and we said, hey, you know, can we get a picture of you? And then the deal was, of course, that we were forcing them to get their picture taken with a complete stranger. And we'd say, you know, meet your stranger, say hello, exchange your names, share something about yourself, and then pose as though you are old friends being reunited for the first time in years. And they really got into it, you know, they were very huggy. This was in New York, which was a surprise to me. That wasn't the experiment. The experiment was, after this brief experience of conviviality, we asked them the standard social trust question, which is, if you dropped your wallet or your purse somewhere out in the city today, or tonight, what are the chances you'd get it back if a stranger found it? And what we found was the people who had, again, a brief moment of intimacy with a stranger were much more likely to trust everyone else in the entire city. So again, what does this tell us? Trust building encounters cause us to trust people more. They cause us to trust everybody more. So we can build cities that provide more opportunities for these trust building encounters. It makes people feel better. It also gives people a more accurate sense of the trustworthiness of their fellow citizens. And one more thing, social trust is the foundation of economic growth. So trust is good for us, it's also good for the economy, and we can build for that.
I have this going on, the Drunk Punk Mondays every Monday, and then I have open mic every Thursday. It's really cool because this bar has been like dead before this, so I'm bringing a bunch of attention to it, and nobody's ever heard of it, and I think that's cool because it gives people like an extra reason to come and check it out since they haven't heard of the bar. And there's not like punk culture at all in Springfield, so I thought it'd be cool to get that started up.
But yeah, I think Drunk Punk Monday would be an event to go to.
I might let you go check that out first.
That sounds super fun.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
put that on the calendar.
I don't like to go out on Monday nights as much anymore. I guess I'm getting old. I don't know. Different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, creating events like that's a great way to sort of find that intersection, I think, between people. But maybe not. I'm keen on going. I don't think, obviously Vicky isn't, so I don't. Maybe there's maybe an intersection. I don't know.
I could be talked into it.
Yeah.
I'm Vicky.
Vicky
Tim.
Juniper. Pretty good. A little stressed out.
Oh no, why?
Everybody's running late, and one of my people in my opener dropped out, but you know, whatever. We'll just hang out and have another cigarette. Yeah, my band's playing. We'll play first now since my opener dropped. Jurassic Snack. Thank you all for being here tonight. We are Jurassic Snatch. This should be fun.
Come back more Mondays. That's
We
fun.
just moved to
I like
Springfield
your
like
band.
a
That
year
was fun.
ago. So.
That's cool. I've been here for about 4 years.
4 years? Okay.
I love it so much. I'm from, I don't know who that is. I'm going to ignore it. I'm from, like, this suburbia town in California.
Oh, really?
And everyone's like, why'd you come here from California? I'm like, well, Springfield's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, really, for a small town, there's so much that happens here. I'm glad I was able to give you my magazine.
Yeah, no,
definitely.
thank you. I
We'll start picking that
appreciate
up.
it.
Did you get a flyer for our Firecracker show? I'm a motivated person with direction or whatever, and I don't know, it's just really strange for me to try and like look at myself in this different light as a person that like gets stuff done and can gather up a crowd of like 40 people in a hole in the wall bar. It's taking a little while to get used to. I'm eternally grateful for everything that I'm gifted in this town, all the people that I'm around, and all the support that I have. I don't know.
But, you know, one of the things you said earlier that there's the unsavory folk on the square. They gather there. And, you know, I was in a meeting once and they were talking about, well, the problem is they're gathering there. And I said, yeah, but that's what it was designed to do. It's working. It's just that you don't like the ones who are gathering there. And that doesn't matter to me because it's not fair and it's not right, I think, to say, well, you can't come in. That goes against the nature of a downtown. You're forced to engage with others simply because of the density, because you move on your feet. You don't have the protection of speed, whether you're on a motorcycle or a car, or the privacy of a personal car. You have to engage. And I think that to me is what's really nice about downtown.
When I first moved to Springfield, they were redoing the square, and I was really excited about that because I got to experience it right when it first reopened. And it was the first place in Springfield that I came and got to be introduced to some of the culture here. I think what started it for me was hooping. There would be people down here doing hula hooping and poi dancing and staff dancing, and all of them would congregate here, and I got to come down and learn tricks from people and teach them what I knew. And then as I continued getting into the culture and doing different things, my friend Emily and I, we had our jewelry business, and we would come down here and sell jewelry, and I didn't know what to do, where to start knowing people around here. And because of all the different things that happen here and all the different people that congregate, it's how I got introduced to the culture, how I started meeting new people and getting my feet wet. Yeah, it's how I started to fall in love with Springfield, basically.